All right, ladies and gentlemen, if you do not know this woman, you must be hiding in some tiny cave on an island that no one's ever heard of, because she has been in over 250 movies. You had to have seen at least one of them at some point. She's a multi-book author. She has done all kinds of things. And to top it all off, she has her own show on Sundays called Conscious Creation. Let's welcome her to the show. Dee Wallace. Dee, how are you?
I'm fabulous. How are you?
I am too, thank you. I'm always
Good.
so happy when I get to listen to you on Sundays, or when we exchange an email, or even just your daily email pops up. I always smile. You bring so much joy to this world.
Oh, thank you. Because I get up every day and say my intention is to be love and send a lot of love and joy out into the world. So, and here I am hearing that I'm doing it. So thanks.
Absolutely. And there is no doubt that you do. And through so many different outlets. But what really gets me is, I've gotten to know you over the last few years up to the point where I can see you play, say, an evil character. And part of me appreciates your acting and how good you are at it. But there's another part of me that knows what's under that candy shell. And I'm like, but you're such a good person behind all that.
Well, yeah, but I love to act.
Exactly.
So those few evil characters that I've played, I really relish in it because I get to explore a part of me, which we all have, that of course I don't exercise in life, but it's fun to find those places in you when you're playing pretend.
Sure.
It's like being Captain Hook when you're little,
I did a lot of Han Solo. That was a big go-to for me. My brother and I used to just set up little stages in our bedrooms, and we would put on these plays and we would tape record them. And those were good times. Closest I ever got to what you do. But
well, every night of my life, my daughter would do a dance, do a play, sing a song. So we had a show every night.
I don't doubt that one bit. And of course, you're talking about the lovely Gabrielle Stone, who's been on the show a couple of times as well. Yeah. Just both. You guys are just such wonderful people. I'm so proud to be someone who you call a friend. That really means a lot to me.
And you are, Scott.
Thank you. Same. I am so excited because today is a dual release day for you. You have 2 books coming out because you're not busy enough. But first, I have to say, when your team sent me over the press kit for this interview, and I saw one word that just elated me so much: BuppaLaPaloo. BuppaLaPaloo was a bear that you had that was a very wonderful toy for children that taught them, that made them feel love. And now you've created a book. Can you tell us a little about that?
Yes, it's a book that BuppaLaPaloo, the bear, teaches a little boy who says, I don't know who I am. Grandma says I'm not old enough, and Daddy says I'm not strong enough, and Mommy says I'm too shy. And Buppa says, well, you haven't asked the most important person. You get to choose who you are. Who do you want to be? And it's really the first lesson in the creation process. We have to choose how we want to define ourselves. And then we become that. Mm-hmm. So I wrote the children's book to accompany the adult book that's coming out, which is entitled Born, Giving Birth to a New You.
Sounds like a wonderful companion, too. Why is it that we're in such a hurry to grow up and we don't learn to enjoy our childhood the way that we should?
Well, I think we're programmed by society to do that. For heaven's sakes, there are people that have preschoolers in study groups so that they can get in a good kindergarten.
God.
Well, it's true.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of times that comes from the better my kid is, the better I feel about myself. And better meaning more accomplished or more pushed. The suicide rate for teens and preteens is up so incredibly high right now. We're pushing our kids too far. I went out of my way because I had done so much research to find a preschool for Gabrielle who did nothing but work on socialization and play.
Wow.
And how to get along and artistic expressions. Yeah, I searched for a couple of months and found one called Magic Years.
Well, based on the way that she turned out, I certainly can't say that that was a bad decision, because she is just a wonderful, just full of creative energy and so much love in her heart. She's just amazing.
Thank you.
Do you think that, especially nowadays, that a lot of it, or at least a part of it, is contributed by these highly driven educational programs to get funding for the schools so that, they have X number of kids that do this well on a test, they get more funding? Is part of it driven from that direction as well as that parental pressure?
I think so. And, bottom line, they have so much research that shows, and this goes back as far as when I was teaching. I used to be a teacher.
Mm-hmm. I did, yeah.
And that the kids that got B's were a lot more successful in life than the kids that were in all the AP classes. Mm-hmm. Because, like, I have a friend who has a son who is incredibly intelligent. He can't get a job because socially he doesn't know how to interact with people. Again, you have to have that balance.
Yeah.
That balance of, and like Einstein said, all of his great achievements came from his imagination.
Very true.
Not from his brain.
Mm-hmm. I don't feel that school really prepared me for life after school. I felt that it prepared me for, here's the checklist of the stuff that you're supposed to know, but not, here's how you survive in the world when you don't spend 40 hours a week in school anymore. Not, here's how to balance a checkbook, here's how to do a job interview, here's how to...
I still can't balance a checkbook. But I'm smart enough to hire somebody that knows how to take care of my money.
Wait, you just don't do that balance adjustment line and go, here's how it works.
When my brain looks at numbers, it goes, ah! I can look into a person's energy and find where their blocks are. I can give them totally astute readings about how to manifest in their life. I can walk into just about any part and bring it alive. But numbers, not so much. I remember when I was in my senior year in high school and I was a cheerleader. No, it was a junior. I was a junior and I was a cheerleader. And they had a rule that you couldn't have any D's and be a cheerleader.
Wow.
So we got to almost the end of the school year. I had 5 A's and 1 D. Guess what it was in, Scott?
I'm going to say math.
Yep. So I went to my counselor and I said, look, and I had the teacher that devised the Math 4 system. So we would come in and all she did was write everything out on a bulletin board, on a chalkboard, and we were supposed to be able to learn from that. Not the way I learned. And I went to my counselor and said, I got to drop this class. And she said, I agree, because you're too valuable everywhere else.
Well, at least they recognize that.
Yeah.
Not everybody's going to be strong in every subject, and the schools really don't compensate for that.
Exactly.
And also it's, being sympathetic to the teachers, it would be impossible, but everybody learns differently. You can't say, this is the way I teach. You need to learn that. We need to teach to the way the kids learn. Group kids by their learning skills and put them in classes together.
Look, it's very easy as a teacher to show them while you're verbally teaching them at the same time. But the best way to teach them, I found, is to involve them in some kind of creativity.
Yeah. Well, and that excites them and it makes them want to do more.
Well, and they can relate to it.
Mm-hmm.
Like I had what they call the basic English class, which means the kids with the worst grades. Mm-hmm. And my mentor that year said, Dee, they'll never write a theme. Don't even try. Just if you can get them to write a paragraph. And I went, well, no, I'm not going to talk down to them like that. But, I let them write themes on like how to ride a motorcycle, how to not get pregnant, what to do if you did get pregnant. I let them write themes about drugs and alcohol. And anything that they could really relate to, they could write a theme on. And they wanted to communicate those things.
Sure.
And at the end of the year, my mentor said, I don't believe it. Every single one of your kids turned in a theme, and they're actually pretty good. I said, well, yeah, but you can't ask a basic English class to write a theme on Shakespeare.
Right.
It's like oil and water. No, it ain't going to work.
Exactly. Now, I don't want to give the impression that BuppaLaPaloo is a book for children. It sounds to me like adults should be reading this too. Parents should be reading it along with their kids and sharing in the experience.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. It teaches us the first principle of creation, which is we have to choose who we are. We get to choose. It doesn't just happen. You can choose your thoughts. Mm-hmm. You can choose how you define who you are. And of course, I expand out a lot more on how to do that in the adult book Born. But don't we all wish that we'd had a book? I mean, I know when Gabby was little, Gabrielle, sorry, she'd kill me.
I won't tell her.
I would read her the Berenstain Bears all the time because they talked a lot about how to feel good about yourself. Mm-hmm. And how powerful you were, not in an overt way, but BuppaLaPaloo is made. See, it's really important for parents to understand that a child's brain, how they see themselves in the world, and how they see the world seeing them, locked in by 8 years old. Mm-hmm. 8 years old, guys. So whatever they're taught verbally or whatever you model to them, they're going to think that's the way the world works, and they're going to start creating their life around that. That's why it's really important for parents right now to be conscious of how they are handling COVID and what they're saying in front of their kids. Kids will follow the first gods in their life, and that's their parents.
Absolutely.
Or their grandparents if the grandparents take care of them. Mm-hmm. And it's imperative that we teach them the principles of creation at a very young age.
Absolutely, because once you have developed those ideals, it's so hard to change that. Yep. In an urgency situation, your mind goes back to those original building blocks, not your current thought process, but what that core still is. It's really amazing. And you say 8, but it's a build up to 8. It's not like at 8 years, it's done. It's like, it's a whole build up, and you can change that any time during that.
Well, and I say, and I have a TED Talks about this on YouTube, but I say to my clients, if you really want to understand what blocks you're hitting around money or relationships or health or success, go back to your childhood and write down what you were taught or what you saw your parents do and how they handled things. Mm-hmm. Right? For example, my father, for most of my life, was a pretty severe alcoholic. So I witnessed my mother working very hard, taking care of the family, taking care of him. She was the leader. She was the pillar. My grandfather, who had been a very dominant and successful businessman, had a stroke by the time I was 5 or 6. So I saw my grandmother taking care of him. So all I saw in my early childhood was, oh, women have to take care of men. That's the way it works. So I attracted many relationships where I had to take care of them.
But you also grew up in a time where that was kind of the theme of the world. You know, you look at the TV shows that were coming out, and everything in life was the man goes out and earns the money. The woman stays home and raises the children. She takes care of everything because he's tired from working.
Yes, but my mom did it both.
Yeah.
My mom took care of everything, mm-hmm. you know? So, but mostly it wasn't that she took care of everything. It was she had to take care of him.
Right.
And so that was a belief. Mm-hmm. Oh, women have to take care of men. Right. So I created a lot of relationships where that happened.
Isn't it amazing how that just manifested?
Isn't it though?
It is. Well,
and so what do I play? In a lot of my roles, like E.T. and Cujo, I play a mom in some kind of situation alone with her kid that has to save them.
Very true.
Interesting, huh?
Very true. And I do want to talk a little bit about E.T. In fact, I had just interviewed recently John Reynolds, who worked in the lighting department on E.T.
Oh, wow.
Really nice guy, good friend of mine. And but I want to talk about Born because, well, first, I love that you're putting out both of these books because I think it's so important that there are not enough books, I think, for children that really help them develop. It's like, well, once you're an adult or once you're a teenager and you go through those years, but nothing about how you get to that point, or very little. So I'm really glad that you're putting this out and giving them an opportunity. I think it's amazing. Let's talk about Born. Now, this is more the adult version of Born. How do you view this one?
Well, I've wanted to write this book for a long time. It's literally a primer on how to create. And it's simple. It's understandable for anybody who reads it. And if you apply what I give you in this book, your life will change. I guarantee you. I live it. My assistant just said to me, Dee, you know, the only reason people need to buy Born is to look at your life and how much you're creating. Because I've got, 3 films in the can, 3 films that just came out. I have 5 films already negotiated for next year. My lovely little Every Time a Bell Rings is on Hallmark in December. My 2 books just came out. You know, I'm doing conventions quite a bit.
Right, yeah.
And I'm very busy and I love everything I do.
And if there's anyone who's written a book that is a shining example of what they're writing about, it would have to be you, because you're living to the fullest that very life that you tell everybody that they can. A lot of times I feel that people that do that, I don't necessarily believe that they're doing what they say they're doing. You know, it feels very much like a showcase. I remember seeing a James Ray event a couple years after The Secret came out. And this was when I was living in Arizona. My brother and I went up here to Nevada to do one of his weekend seminars. And the whole time I kind of felt like everything is, in 5 minutes, I'm going to tell you the most important thing you'll ever hear. But first, I felt like everything was like dragging me on, trying to do something to get a little bit more out of me, a little bit more money, a little bit of a commitment to the next thing. I didn't often feel it was, I didn't feel it was genuine. But with you, I've never once felt like, oh, look, she's got another seminar coming out. She must need some money. It never, ever felt
I don't do that. My integrity wouldn't allow me to do that.
Yeah.
One of the big problems I have with so many of the spiritual writings is you just can't flip and understand them. I have great respect for some of the people that are writing books, but I get a chapter in and I go, I really don't know what I've read. I don't know how to apply it. Mm-hmm. It's too, what I've done in Born is I've taken religion and spirituality and brain science and shown everybody how they're all saying the same thing. And there is a formula. There is a formula for creating what you want in any subject that you want to create it in. And you just apply the formula to it, and your manifestation becomes a lot simpler.
Is it our own brain that gets in the way of manifesting? We go through the process, we think, okay, this is going to work, I can't wait, and then it doesn't happen, and tomorrow you're like, probably didn't do something right. And our brain kind of gets in the way of letting it happen.
I think your mind gets in the way. Yeah, it's your monkey mind. And our mind is created to doubt and question, right? So I talk a lot about our core beliefs. And what most of us are doing, we're holding two different opposite core beliefs at the same time. So let's say I want to create more money. I want more money. Mm-hmm. And then we also have the belief, I don't deserve so much money. Mm-hmm. So we're electrical beings, right? Our heart is measured through electrocardiograms. Our brain is measured through electroencephalograms. Whenever we have a thought or a feeling, it has an electrical current connected to it. That shoots out to the universe, which is an electromagnetic universe. So we're sending out an electrical current, and that's looking at where to plug in to the universe, and the universe is looking what matches it. Because the universe doesn't judge, God doesn't judge. We're here to learn free will. Mm-hmm. So nobody's going to give it to us. Nobody's going to do it for us. We're here to learn how to create through free will. So that means I'm going to choose what thoughts I think. Mm-hmm. I'm going to choose to feel better when I feel bad. I'm going to choose to change my perspective of the world, because if I see myself as an actress and I see a world where, but it's not possible for me to be an actress out there, it's never going to happen.
Absolutely.
Right? So I have to see a world where it's possible for me to be everything I know I am. And I have to see everybody in the world looking at me going, wow, look at that actress. Mm-hmm. And then the magic can happen.
Right. Well, and I think too, that is there has to be a fear of that responsibility, because if it doesn't work, then I have nothing to look forward to, or there's another reason to feel like you're a failure. There's got to be an element of not, I don't want to say not wanting to take responsibility, but maybe just a fear of actually having control and the ability to make our lives better.
Yeah, it's your fear of power. You nailed it. It's your fear of power. Oh my gosh, what if I do? See, A good example of this is uh, these were some of my teachings. They're the rich people, we're the good people, right? You should never have more than you need. These were very basic religious beliefs that I was taught growing up.
Right.
So, cut to 32, I star in ET, catapulted to freedom, making all this money. And I'm going, oh, I'm one of them now. And God isn't going to like me. And everybody's going to judge me from that childhood brain. And so I went like this.
Right.
Yeah.
That does make sense.
Until I realized I had to retrain my own brain.
Isn't it sad, though, that living your dream and reaching those goals and doing what you want to do becomes almost a punishment for reaching it?
Well, it would have been if I had stayed a victim and stayed there.
Exactly. But I mean, I would imagine a lot of people probably do.
Well, that's why I wrote this book.
Well, they
won't.
should read it. Now, is there an age difference? So where do the two books come in as far as what ages should read them? Or should they read both?
BuppaLaPaloo is for like up to 3 years old, 3 or 4, right? Born, I think young adults can really get it. You know, preteens, maybe if they're very advanced, probably not. You have to live long enough to be able to look back on your life and go, wow, I did create that. Wow, I see what belief that came from. I have a great mother-daughter pair right now, and she has kind of been taught the power of thought from a very early age, and they are working together now to uncover what her mom and dad might have incorrectly taught her so that she can reprogram it. I say to Gabrielle all the time, you know, go beyond everything I ever did. I will be overjoyed if you surpass me.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of parents don't feel that way.
Well, they feel that they have to keep some strength for themselves, right? Like they have to have one thing that they've always held on to that makes them a great person, whatever that one thing is. And if their child usurps that, then what do they have? You know, that's the mindset out there.
Well, I think with some people, not with all.
Oh,
not
no,
with all people.
Of course.
But I know that love is the most powerful force on earth. The most powerful force on earth. We think of it as a namby-pamby little fluffy kind of feeling, right? And we think something has to happen or someone has to happen for us to enter the state of love. Love, which is why the good book says think only on these things, and that all things are important, but without love, nothing's important. I mean, Christ was really teaching brain science when he said, think only on these things. Science says what you focus on, you create more of. They're saying exactly the same thing. Christ said, as you believe, it is delivered to you. Brain science says your beliefs create your life. They've proven now that most of the diseases that we have for centuries thought were genetic are now epigenetic, which means they stem from our old stories and our old belief patterns that are negative, that we keep our energy locked in.
Right. Yeah, that's very true. And in fact, very few things are actually hereditary. when it comes to disease and things like that. It's amazing what we've put into our brains and just accept it as fact.
Yeah.
But we won't accept when
it runs in the family,
Right. When something changes or there's new information comes out, we resist it. But the things that we were told and we were just looking at blindly going, oh, okay, I guess that's the way the world works. But now when we have new information introduced, we kind of reject it on a certain level. And it's kind of strange. I hate that our time is running out because I could talk to you for hours. But I want to ask you from another angle, looking at all of this, it seems to me that part of what is going to make this successful for people is not just what we learn, but what we do with our time, like not paying attention to all the arguments and things that are going on in the world, not watching the Kardashians, not watching these things that don't have a value to build us up. I'm not saying that people can't be entertained, because certainly they should watch every movie you've ever done, but we really should filter the kind of things that we ingest.
I think you should do whatever makes you happy. And whatever holds you in the state of love. I did a speech, an introduction a few weeks ago for the Hollywood Museum. And I said, people who are in the horror industry are really public servants. There's a lot of research that says watching a horror film strengthens your DNA, helps you deal with anxiety, dumps a lot of feel-good hormones into you, which affects your health. You can Google it. Just go good things that come from watching horror or something like that, whatever you put in the Google thing. It's pretty amazing, which is why young kids, when they watch a Disney movie, they always want to see the scary part. And why every Disney movie has a scary part.
Interesting. Because
we can sit there in a safe place and feel powerful over our fear. So, of course, I'm not talking about sick people who go, well, killing people makes me feel good.
Sure.
Obviously, I'm not talking about.
I was hoping, yeah.
Yeah. But the happier and the more in a state of love, especially for ourselves, which again, we're taught not to do. I get up every day and I say, I'm loving myself today. And I'm sending a lot of love out into the world. And you know what? I'm calling all kinds of love back to me. And Scott, I'm telling you, it's crazy. People just come forward and share love with me and take care of me and help me. And it's crazy to watch. But then energy needs direction. And I am giving energy the direction I want it to take on.
I like that. And the three powerful words that you say at the end of every show of Conscious Creation, I love me, and you repeat it and it gets stronger every time. And every time I just feel chills because it's so powerful.
Yes.
It's not like you say it like, okay, here's my ending tag. It's really, every bit of it is just felt with such strong energy. I love it.
I love me, and I love me even more because I know that's what it's all about.
Exactly.
And I'm telling everybody out there, the more you love yourself, the more love you have for everybody else in the world. The more money you have, the more you have to share with everybody else. The healthier you are, the more energy you have to give to everybody else. Put your own mask on first, guys, and then you can take care of everybody.
Well, it's like they tell you when you take a flight, make sure that your mask is secured before you try and help someone else.
That's right.
Yep. Well, Dee, thank you so much for coming on the show. I wish you the greatest success with these 2 books. Everybody check out, I'm going to have the links in the show notes. Check out BuppaLaPaloo and check out Born. Both books, they are going to be the greatest gifts that you can give people this holiday season or forever. Until your next one, I'm sure. Also, I've got the link to Dee's TED Talk, which is fantastic. And she's just a bundle of joy. I've got her website in there as well. Check out Conscious Creation every Sunday morning. And Dee, thank you so much. I love you so much, and I wish you the absolute best with these.
I love you too, Scott. Thank you.
You bet. We'll talk soon, my friend.
You bet.
Bye-bye. Talk about one of the brightest shining lights in our world today. I absolutely love Dee. She's amazing. Check her out on Sundays on Conscious Creation. There is a link to her website in the show notes with the schedule. Check out BuppaLaPaloo and Born, her new books releasing today. Check out E.T. You know what? Because every once in a while, we just need something to warm our hearts. Great movie. And, she's got that new movie, Every Time a Bell Rings, coming out. All kinds of stuff going on. Check out Dee's website. She's got everything there. But I've got the links to everything, too, in the show notes. Thank you so much, Dee, for coming on the show. Thank you guys for listening. And remember, it takes so little to make a difference in somebody's life. Sometimes just a hug or a hello or I was thinking about you is all it takes. Cheers.